All right. So I've been thinking about one of the many interactions I've had with people, and it's essentially the same song and dance again. But they watched one video, made a blanket assumption, and threw out the word pretentious. Maybe I am. I mean, this is something I've grappled with. I'm proud of what I've rediscovered, but the fact is I rediscovered it because there's nothing new under the sun. It's humbling. It blows me away. And I continue to leave stepping stones, dangling things in front of you, hoping that somebody would have eyes to see. And then what I usually do is I'll go on one of my tirades, such as this, and I will spoon feed you answers to do so. But people also don't have ears to hear. It's these things that have been ceded to the public sphere. This expression, to have eyes to see, ears to hear. And then I often rattle off, and if you had a brain between your ears and you chose to use it, if you chose to think, you would have eyes to see and ears to hear. I've employed the same tactics our masters use, again and again and again. And I do so in different ways. Our masters are fairly lazy. They tend to dress things up in the same boring manner. I've given you a really superficial example of how they'll knock out two movies back to back, and they're the same movie, essentially. It's the same idea, the same outline, roughly enough. Same archetypal structure and all the other crap in there. Because our masters aren't terribly clever. They don't mean to be. Plus, they're also talking down to us when they do things like this, because they don't think anything of us. You and I are dumb beasts. We're a means to an end. And some people get that much, but they don't understand where it's coming from, why these, the elite think that they're up on this pedestal and all the other stuff. Either way, that's superficial politics and society, and it's my least favorite thing. And that's usually the first thing people figure out. A little bit. They usually don't get the deep roots to it, but they understand that there's something wrong and that we've all been had. But then they say, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, because they're not terribly bright and they're not thinking for themselves. They don't have eyes to see or ears to hear and blah, blah, blah. So I say this shit again and again and again. Our masters have spoon-fed you and I a number of tools that to this day people don't use. And when I say things like that, people usually will get cranky. And or if I leave a video like this online, people will get extremely cranky when I rant, just like the kid that, threw out the word pretentious. Even though he wasn't listening, he wasn't using what I told people. And I flat out told people an answer to reality having to do with time in that video. Yeah. And it's frustrating to me. It's really frustrating to me. It's no different than our masters dangling these things in front of you and people glossing over it. Absolutely glossing over it. Things would be better. That's part of why I complain about this all the fucking time. Where you and I are and all that other stuff, and the fact that we're subjugated, it wouldn't be that way if people did have eyes to see and people were using the brain in their head and all that other stuff, but they're not. A lot of people assume that they are, but they're not. If they were, it wouldn't be this way. Dropping things. It wouldn't be this way. But it's been this way since ancient Sumer or ancient Egypt, approximately. And people still rattle off our masters' narratives having to do with both of those. People talking about Atlantis these days. And that's hilarious. Because Atlantis is a second-hand account. And none of it talks about THOTH or any of that other flowery shit. It doesn't talk about Atlantis seeding, the Egyptian culture. None of that. It's an adult fairy tale. And people repeat it. Because most of the things people are repeating are shit. They're nothing. They're paradigms. They're rabbit holes. Outlines our masters made. They just made up. Because they don't think anything of us, and they know that most people will repeat it, and they do. I say this all the time. I'm sitting on more answers than anybody else. I guarantee it. I can teach you things you are not supposed to know. And I don't usually leave them online because I am looking for people who can think for themselves. So the kid that mentioned the word pretentious, and I keep wanting to draw an emphasis, I keep wanting to bring that up so you can think in terms of me and that word. I mean, that's your, it's your choice. I can't change that. Can't change that. But I do continue to leave things online for people again and again and again. And if I was just out here boasting and just trying to get a pat on the ass, I probably wouldn't be doing that. At least I don't think I would when I think in terms of that definition. But what the fuck do I know? What else was I just going to throw out there? I'm trying to do 15 things at once. I'm cooking a grilled cheese. Okay, you don't need to hear any of that. Yeah, I'm cooking a grilled cheese. It's pretty fucking arduous. Yeah. I'm also tinkering with something in the back of my brain that I was working on earlier. And as usual, I jump in here when I want to show people things. And when I have an interaction with somebody, it's usually the same song and dance. So the kid that also threw out Pretentious, and again, I keep stressing that. I want you to think in terms of that and me. Because that's what the public is saying. One person, at least, and I'm sure others have probably thought it, because I do. I sound like a fucking bastard. I'm a fairly decent person. I mean, you wouldn't know that, but I'm a little too agreeable. I'll bend over backwards for people because I'm a Pisces. That's probably why I'm still doing this as well, because I have faith in people. But they aren't backing it up, and it's worse and worse every single fucking calendar cycle. People are just dumber than last year. It's terrifying, but it's how it's how it's geared. It's what they're doing, what our masters are up to. Social engineering. But the kid also threw out what a lot of people say. If you have knowledge and you're going to teach, why don't you just teach? Because they get mad because they want the answers. They want you to spoon feed them something to repeat, the outline. And in some cases I've given you guys a template. I've given you a key. I've given you numerous ones actually. But people don't do anything with them. Especially when I just show you something that actually reflects reality in a big fucking way. Usually people don't see it for what it is initially. And they're not going to be able to do something down the line with it unless they take notes, because a lot of those videos, I'll delete that shit. I'll make it private, or I'll block some of these people because they're listing their pronouns, or they're talking about planets, or they want to tell you about aliens and all that other shit. And if they're a Democrat or a Republican, or if, they want to suck Trump's dick, things like that. I'm not here to polarize people. If you think a certain race of people are the true Jews, go fuck yourself. That's not who I'm looking for. The point is for you and I to band together because you and I are chattel. But people haven't figured that out. They still haven't figured that out. You still got people worried about skin color. How superficial is that? And it's because superficial shit is society. It's materialistic. By design. So anytime you hear about that crap, you just throw it out the fucking window. What matters is what beats behind our chest and whether or not you're dumber than a fish stick. Keep in mind, you can still be a good person and not be terribly right. And a lot of people are, but that's also why we've easily been taken in and why most people are trusting of the government, among other things, and why we're in their pocket to begin with. Because they didn't think that they were gonna, do something dastardly, and they did. They're poisoning us and manipulating us, and most people don't see it for what it is, the deep shit. Because they're not terribly deep. They're as superficial as they come. Yeah. But usually I'll have kids rattle that off and get mad at me, and then they go through all these stages of trying to goad me, and yeah. Oh, I should also state this too. I don't think it was the same kid. No, it's a different kid. Another kid contacted me yesterday, and he did the typical thing. He watched one video, same video actually, and then he said, "Can we have a conversation?" And so I looked at his profile. He had listed his pronouns, and I told him, no, I don't want to talk to somebody, essentially who's promoting social engineering and the Tavistock stuff and eugenics by extension. And then he got mad. And then he tried to explain away why he did that. Essentially telling me that I'm being judgmental and what have you. And no, it's up to you to think whether or not that's the truth. It's disharmonious and it negatively impacts us, but you decide.